Hi guys, welcome back. Anyways, this is my, oh my god. You know what? I never look good in any video and I gave up. Maybe I'm done. This is my second SAT general tips video. So that's that. I might make a third one. But like next video will most likely be not that. I'm gonna change it up a little, maybe. I don't know. I don't really have subscribers, so I can't ask you, right? Like nobody's watching this. Like if somebody is, leave suggestions, please. Please, even if you're my friends, bro. I had no idea my AC was that loud. This is the first tip, and remember that the SAT is literally just a reading test. So like basically they don't really test your skills per se, but they test how well you can read. And not only for the reading test, but also for like the math section. Like the questions will be worded in a way where if you miss something, you would get the whole question wrong. It doesn't matter how good you are at math, you can still get that question wrong if you haven't read it well. And number two, that goes to my second tip, literally relates to the first tip, is that details are very, very important. And whenever you come across a question, make sure you fully understand the question. And for the third tip is to always remember what you're learning for. Your goal is to understand the underlying principles of questions and not just this particular question, or like how to solve this one question. Your goal mainly is to understand the principles, the foundations of these questions. How do you solve these questions? And not how to solve this particular question. I'll give you an example. If there is this question, a hard question about, let's say, linear equations, right? Like you had to use linear equations. What you do is study linear equations, fully understand it, and then solve that question. Instead of studying that question, how to solve that particular question, study the underlying principles. That's the most important part. And of course, considering details. And that leads to one of the tips, I don't know if it's the fourth or fifth, I believe it's the fourth, is to learn how to read graphs, charts, and like other types of figures for SAT purposes. So basically, just say, you need to learn how to read charts, graphs, and like other types of like statistical thingies, or just like any other,
wow, look at them hands,
form of those, right? Learn how to read them, kind of like homographs, histographs, I don't know. Anyways, just read those and understand them. Learn how to read them because you're gonna need it, right? Just that's the tip. So don't be scared or intimidated by certain jargons or advanced terms. Like, let's say for a math problem, you were asked about like a geometric tree. That was completely off the top of my head, but let's say you were asked about that, right? Or like something in italics. Don't be intimidated by that just because you don't know what it means, right? Technically, you don't really need to know what it means. Like for certain questions, especially for math, for certain terms, you don't really need to know what kind of bee this is or what kind of flower this is, right? You don't really need to know that information. They just add that in to scare you or intimidate you a little bit. And same goes for the English questions. Like if they ask about a certain word, right, don't be scared that you don't know the word. Just look at context clues and you will most likely get the word. They have context clues. Anyways, so basically, if you have a problem with time, then you should train more. What that means is the reason you have a problem with time is because you don't really know these questions. You don't know exactly what they're asking for. So what you do is just practice more, train more, or look at why you got those questions wrong and study that. So let's say for math, you got a certain question wrong, let's say polynomials, then study polynomials, completely study it, and then do the question again, see if you can do it. You probably can. So yeah, just train. That is how you fix time issues. That's literally all I can give you. And on goes my 15th tip. I don't even know. I believe 10th. I hope so. So basically, it's definitely not 10, it's like 8. Anyways, so you guys, sometimes when you come across a question, right, you kind of guess, but you don't really think you're guessing. So you guys have to figure out if you are truly guessing or if you know the answer. Because if you fully know the answer, you'll feel it in your gut. You know, you have everything to disprove every other question. You'll be like, question A, completely wrong. I know it because of this and that and da-da-da. And I know question B is wrong. And question C is right because question D is wrong in this way, right? So you're fully sure of it. But when you're guessing, right, it means that you're just choosing a question that fits. You're like, well, question A and B are kind of like right, but I'm gonna go with the B because it sounds more right. No, that's guessing. You need to be fully sure. Guys, if you do guess, then guess quickly and move on. That leads me to the next tip. So don't think about time too much. Times per question. So like there's this belief that you need to spend about 8 minutes. Don't stress yourself out on that. Literally, just spend as long as you can on that question type. So let's say for English, right? For a history passage, you find a history passage harder than, let's say, a social studies passage. So you're obviously going to spend a lot longer on the history passage and a lot shorter on the social history passage. So if you Google average time per passage online, it says like 13 minutes or 12 minutes or something like that. Social studies passage, like I said, you could spend 8 minutes on that passage, and for the history, you could spend 14. You know what I mean? So it's like a great balance of both. So you may ask yourself, how do I know I'm ready for the test? Well, if one day you feel like you're gonna absolutely ace this test, you're gonna crush this test, and then the next day you feel like you're gonna completely fail, and then this is a cycle, that's when you're ready for the test. And again, this feeling is absolutely normal. You'd be surprised how many people feel this way and don't know that they're actually ready. Like nobody actually feels like, oh, like I'm gonna completely crush this test. If you feel like that, then that means you're overconfident. And yeah, you're overconfident. It's never good to be overconfident or confident or just not confident at all. You know, you have to be a balance of both. Now, when you get a hard test, by a hard test, I mean like the questions just seem like, oh my God, I don't know how to solve this, right? Those are a lot better than easy tests where you can solve each question easily like butter. The reason being is because of the curve. Because if you get a question wrong for the hard test, it won't cost you much as if you got a mistake on the easy test. So always hope for a hard test and always practice a hard test. So whenever you do come across hard questions, you can solve it because you've already studied for it, right? And it's basically easy for you. But an easy test is easy for everyone, and points are just going to be a lot harder. I mean, a lot bigger. You lose more points, basically. The morning of the test or the night before the test, get a good night's sleep. Okay, don't stay up all night studying. I mean it. Do not do that. Okay, even if you have a lot to catch up on, literally go to sleep. Get a full 8 hours. And yeah, when you wake up, get a nice full protein breakfast, okay? Or just whatever you want, honestly, just a good healthy breakfast. Drink water. Don't take Adderall, okay? Don't do that.
Shut up, bro.
I'm watching you. Don't do that. And you don't really need coffee, okay? Just drink like it's a normal day. Like you wouldn't take Adderall if you're taking a practice test, okay? I mean, don't do that, but like that isn't what usually you would do. So do what you would do when you're taking a practice test. And again, that leads me to my other tip, which whenever you're taking a practice test, take it as if it was a real test. Take it on a Saturday. Typically, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Saturday, but just 8 in the morning, take the test, you know, eat the breakfast that you would on test day, and drink water. You don't really need coffee. That's it, right? Do that the same morning of the actual test, so your body's like, oh, it's just a practice test. Anyways, that leads me to my tips on practice tests as well. Try to take them every Saturday and typically take 6 to 7 practice tests in total. And make sure they're on paper. I don't recommend taking it online because when you have the actual paper, you experience the real thing. Yeah, anyways, so guys, there are like timed SAT tests. I could link one below. So make the test as realistic as possible. Don't listen to music. Just keep it realistic and repetitive, so when you do take the test, it's like routine. Also guys, remember the first practice test you ever take is going to be the hardest, and also you'll probably have a really bad grade or a grade you don't really want. I mean, a score that you don't really want. So it's fine, it's normal, it happens to everyone. Relax, work on that. Look at the mistakes you've done and work on those mistakes. Now, you may ask yourself, I always make these dumb mistakes. Like, let's say you took a practice test and you're like, how? Well, it's simple. Just don't make them. Basically, take every question with care, right? Don't skip any steps. So like, let's say you're dividing, right? Write that down, okay? That's how you avoid making mistakes, simple mistakes like addition. You know what I mean? Write it down. Don't do mental math. Even if it's really easy, write it down. Write it down. Okay, write everything down. I mean, keep it clean and neat. Don't be lazy and be in the moment. Focus on that problem. Now, here goes my last tip. I don't know if this is the 15th tip, I'll be honest. But basically, don't compare yourself to other people's score. Let's say you got a 1200 and you've studied as long and as hard as your friend who got a 1400. Remember, you guys are completely two different people, and you don't know what they've done. Honestly, you don't know what they fully have done, right? They might have studied longer than you, or they might have had better grades than you prior, so they knew all of this, and you might have not, or they had tutoring, or just whatever. Don't compare yourself to them. Compare yourself to you. Smooth. I should be a motivational speaker. Hey guys, so I forgot to film an outro, you know, me being me. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment because I'm money hungry